What's going on, guys? Freebs FPV here, and in today's video I have the new Walksnail Avatar HD Kit V2 and the Pro, and I'm going to be converting this quad and another quad from the VISTA to the new Walksnails, and we're going to do a quick review on the VTXs and how they work, specs, all that good stuff, and then also, you know, we have to go out and fly it, give it a good test, so stay tuned. I hope you're ready for a really good video. Let's get right into it. So I have the old V1, V2, and the Pro kits right here for you, just to give you a side-by-side comparison. I also have a VISTA here, that way we can do some comparisons with that too. And let's just get right into opening them. So if you already know, you probably understand what's in this one. I'm going to go ahead and skip that because I already have reviews on this V1, I believe, so you can check that out on my channel. I'll probably have a link somewhere. So the V2 kit comes with a camera. So the differences between the V2 and the Pro kit is just the camera. The VTX is going to be the same no matter what. So what you're going to get in the V2 is the VTX and camera. And as you can see, they changed the color of it. It's now all black, and it looks like a lot of things have been like more enclosed, which is nice. And the camera itself is a black design, sort of similar to the original camera, but it also has some cool little features in it now. Instead of the two antennas, you are just going to get a single antenna now. So they switched from using the dual antennas to just a single one. So we'll see how the performance is compared to that with the dual antenna. And of course, some screws. And the nice thing is it comes with spacers. So when you put your VTX in, you can use these spacers so it's not touching carbon to metal. So that's really great. I'm glad they added those. And last but not least, you're going to get the VTX cable and the USB. Now what I did was get some heat shrink wrap and put it around the wiring, because the wire is very thin and very stiff, so I'd rather keep it protected. That way it doesn't snag on anything and break. So good tip for that if you guys end up getting these, shrink wrap your wires. Now the Pro kit is basically going to be similar. If I can open it. So the Pro kit is going to be the same thing. The only difference is the camera. And as you can see, let me, if I can grab it out. As you can see, if I can get just if it can come at you. So you can notice that the Pro camera looks way different. It's got a bit longer on it. And I will also go into the differences on the cameras too. But as you can see, same VTX, all good. And then you get the usual stuff too. USB, screws, soft mounting, and the antenna. First, we'll look more into the VTX. So as you can see, there are 4 little screw holes that are a 20 by 20 millimeter stack kind of placement. So they added that now on both sides. So it's really good to have. That way it can adapt to modern frames. That way we're not having to change frames and going to make new frames with 30 by 30s. And I think that's a really good move, just because a lot of frames are going to be a 20 by 20 VTX mounting. And I think this will definitely hold good. The only thing I'm concerned about is how deep these holes go and how well they hold together. So you'll probably need some Loctite or something. Another change that they did was they took away those really tiny screws and actually used some regular, I believe, M2s. So you just have 4 of them there, and then I believe just regular nuts just to hold it in. So if you want to do the 30 by 30, you can still do that, and you just need to take these out. But also make sure that you're mounting it the right way, because I believe the screws need to go in this way in order to hold down the antenna mount, and also the, oh no, this one doesn't have it on this side, so it's going to be on this side. I guess it doesn't matter then, because you have the nuts on that side and it's holding down the VTX. So I guess either way works, whatever your preference is. But I really enjoy the new design and it looks great. I think it's going to be a great addition to my collection of quads and to the arsenal that I fly. Another great thing that this has is where to put your wires. So it comes with a soldering pad set now and a plug-in set. Do keep in mind that these plug-ins for this and the USB on the other side are gonna be totally different than the V1. So whatever you get with your V2 kit, make sure you have that on you, or else you're gonna have a bad time trying to get this set up. So here are all three VTXs lined up next to each other, the Pro, V2, and the regular V1. And you can definitely see that they're all basically the same. I would say that these are probably going to weigh a bit more just because there's a bigger heatsink around it, and the enclosure is a lot bigger and covers more of the stuff. As you can see with the V1, there's a lot more open exposure on the board. So where the sync button or the bind button is, and then just where I bet the antenna, it's not going to have that much coverage. And compared to the new ones where you have a full, basically enclosed one, you don't really see any of the board besides where the solder pad is. So that's really great. Now, the new cameras actually come with some great features. The one thing that I think people are going to enjoy is that it comes with gyroflow data. Gyro data, sorry. Gyroflow is the program. But basically, yeah, you get gyro data on both of these. You can use gyroflow to steady out your video and make it look good. The quality of these cameras are actually really nice for going into like 1080 and stuff. Wow, it actually looks really good for an HD system. And I'm really impressed with how well they're pushing this and making new strides to make this VTX even better. The V2 camera has some really great features. Like I said, you have the gyroflow data that you can use. It also has the 4:3 native aspect, which is a new thing. Walksnail, when it came out, they only had the 16:9 aspect ratio, so it was more of the full screen of it. I'm used to flying 4:3 on the DJI system just because I like having my thing more focused on the center rather than having a peripheral of stuff. Kind of distorts makes me feel all whoa, like dizzy and stuff. So the 4:3 aspect is great. I really can't wait to try that out, and I'll definitely do some DVR footage of all different features on it. So that's basically it with this one. You do get two choices with this one for the gyro data. It comes with a 8 gig and a 32 gig, so you have it, I believe it's stored within the camera, and then you have your stuff in here, or I believe it's the VTX that actually holds more of it. I'm not sure. I'll post the specs and you'll be able to see what it says on there. Now, the Pro camera, the difference between this and the V2 is that it has the Starlight sensor from Sony, so you're gonna get some really great night footage. Basically, if you have decent amount of light around you, you're gonna see a lot of like area during the night when it's super dark out. If you have like, I would say around your house with the street lights up, everything will look crystal clear for you. It'll look great. And once again, gyro data, really great for it too. Unfortunately, since it has that sensor, I believe it only does 16:9, so you really can't get the 4:3 aspect. It'll do the corrupt 4:3 aspect that they do with just the regular settings. So take that in mind when you want to get this. The reason why I got it was to try out the night vision, because I've never really flown at night, only besides racing, which we had decent amount of light and the DJI system was working really good with that. But if this can pull off some really good stuff, I might actually start flying more at night and get some cool footage. Now, the great thing about this is all of these VTXs, cameras and everything, they're all compatible. So V1, VTX, you can use the Pro on it. You just have to make sure that everything is up to date. I do have a video about how to update your Walksnail system. If you want to check that out, you can follow the link wherever, somewhere. I'll put it somewhere around here, but it'll be here. But let's get into the comparison of the V2s to the Caddx VISTA. Now, of course, the Caddx VISTA is going to be a bit smaller because it has that 20x20 mounting. The board is smaller also. And the only difference is just height, really. Like, the difference on them is this one's a bit thinner, this one's a bit wider. So the way I see it is I would rather have this compared to the VISTA just because I usually fly Apex frames and another frame called the Smoothie by Fruity Tech FPV. And there's really no space when you have a VISTA in the back to either put a receiver or, you know, your battery leads or even just like the battery strap. I usually have a difficult time trying to keep everything spacey in that spot, so it gets pretty cramped. So I'm glad that these VTXs are a bit smaller. Not trashing anything on DJI, or, well, not DJI anymore, but Caddx. They're both the same company, but I do prefer the Walksnail VTX more just because of the size and everything. The VISTA I still love, though, just because it's a very reliable thing and it works really great. The only reason why I'm converting is because I actually have the Walksnail system and truly enjoy it. The only thing that I would say that they would need to work on is just trying to get an actual USB plug-in for this, because I do love having an actual direct plug-in compared to the wire that it comes with. It just seems like an extra part. I actually lost my V1 cables for a bit, and I had no idea where they went, so I couldn't update or do anything for like a couple weeks until I actually found them just on the floor somewhere random when I was cleaning. So yeah, that would be nice to have a good USB port instead of just the JST plugins and stuff. So the V1 camera weighs in at about 26 grams, and like I said, the V2 is going to be a bit heavier, weighing in at about 30 grams, so it does add a bit more weight, but if you're not worried about that, an extra 4 grams or something, don't even trip, you're good. It'll be fine. Now that I talked about the VTXs, what they have, features and whatnot, it's time to get this quad torn apart and get a new VTX in there and try this thing out and see how it goes. Let's go. Oh! Alright, so I've got the new V2 kit installed onto my quad, and now it's just time to do the soldering, because I realized that the plug for this one won't work because of the fact that the T-Motor F7 has its own little plug-in port. So I'm just going to desolder this and then just put it onto here. So the first thing I'm going to do is just find the length of it. I'm going to leave a bit of slack, that way I can twist them too. So I think just right about there will be good. So I just need clippers. Find it right there, go bip, and there we go. Now remember, the VTX has the guide right on the side of it, so if you ever feel like you don't know where things are supposed to go, this is perfectly easy for you to set up because it has it right there on the side. Even on the JST plugin, it shows the wiring outlet or the wiring configuration, so I think that's nice just to know if you want to make a new JST or anything to plug it in. You can just follow that one and you'll be able to just use your own plug. So the fun part begins, is trying to figure out where each wire goes and hopefully making it stick. Cool. Throw some flux on there just so we can solder these joints up. So, one thing I'll say is that this is a bit tricky to be doing this, just because of the fact that you literally have the plug right there. So trying to get this last pad is a bit tricky, so I'm going to go ahead and go for that one first. That way I'm not melting anything. And then just keep adding on to each one. I do find these pads to be a bit tricky though, just because the fact that you have to be very careful with how you install them, because I'm messing it up now. Yeah, I should be using a smaller piece, but I'm honestly already this far and I'm not about to just stop. There we go. There's one. Yeah, these are a bit tricky. Alright, and then I totally forgot how this goes, so it is TX RX. Remember guys, TX to RX, RX to TX. Right. Sorry if there's no talking, this is some very tedious work. Oh, this last one's gonna be a bitch. There we go. Alrighty guys, probably not the best joint work, but let's see if I can get it focused. There you go guys, as you can see, ground, volt, power, RX, TX, we got it all plugged in now. I will say that is a very tedious job, so if you guys are wanting to solder on and do it that way, just be very careful, use a smaller soldering iron tip, and you should be okay. Hi, me from post-editing. I totally forgot to add something in. If your flight controller does not have a BEC or volt regulator, I would highly recommend buying a separate BEC board, just because I feel 6S is a bit too much since the output for it is at 6S. So use that in order to regulate the power. That way you don't have any kind of like power surges from flying or punching it out or anything like that. So There you go. Now that everything is plugged into the quad and ready to go, all I gotta do is add on the antenna and get the install and update firmware, and we should be good to go. So I will see you outside flying the drones in a bit. Alright, bye. This is the V1 camera and VTX at 1080p with the DVR. With the 2 antennas, I will admit that it is probably better than having the 1 antenna. I would say that my bars were full and that I wasn't getting too much breakup with this. And I will be doing the same route with all 3 of these cameras, so you'll be able to see exactly what the breakup is and everything. I do miss a couple spots, but it's all good. It's still the same route. Other than that, with the V1, it runs really well. And yeah, I would say the 2 antennas are gonna definitely beat the 1 antenna. Now the V2 system, I do enjoy the look of it, and the color and everything I think is okay. I do realize that it's jumping between white balance on there, so I might have to go and try and set a fixed thing on there, but other than that, quality looks great. I would say a bit more breakup on this one just because of the 1 antenna. While I was flying, I was only getting 3 bars consistently. Only when I was really close to myself was I getting the actual 4 bars. I might have to check and see if my output power is right, but other than that, I still enjoyed it. It's really great. Now we're gonna go on to the Pro camera next, so here we go. Now the Pro camera, I will say, looks really good. The Starvis sensor really brings out a lot of like color and everything. And the only thing I would say is that there is a bit more latency. I can notice it when I go. A lot more smearing when it comes to making turns around spots with a lot of like, I would say tall grass. But going around here and everything, it was flying perfectly good. Tune on this is just a little wonky, so I don't know how good of a flight this was. Felt really bad. But other than that, it's flying really great. It's this part right here. You won't be able to really see it in DVR, but through that part there's a lot of breakup. Coming around this part, I didn't have too much breakup. It was still good until you get into like parts in between. It was kind of acting up. Now the 4:3 full aspect ratio is what I'm really excited about, just because I usually fly in 4:3, and with that it also gives you that top and bottom space of the image that you don't get to see with the 16:9, and I usually go off of a launch pad, so being able to see that while I'm landing really helps. I also just enjoy not having that full immersive feel. Really throws me off when I'm flying, so really enjoying this 4:3 full. And also the regular 4:3 is still doable, but it is still that cropped 16:9. Now, as you can see, it is pretty much similar when it comes out of the DVR, but I will say that there is a difference of having the full screen of it and then also just the cropped 4:3. So I'm gonna go with the full screen 4:3 just because I actually like that one. I prefer that one a lot more. But this one also is still great to use too. Might try and use this a bit more also, besides using 16:9, but with the Pro camera I can only use 16:9, so that's okay. But other than that, I really do enjoy these new VTXs coming out. And last but not least, we have the Pro camera at night, and I know it looks a lot brighter. It looks like it's just like sunset, but really it's not. It is pretty dark out there. The one thing I like is that the lights actually really fill in when you're flying around. Like the garage is very illuminated, which is nice. And the one thing that I actually do enjoy too is that you can use the high frame rate on this, so it's great to fly at night. I actually want to go to a spot that we usually go to and try and stay there later and see how it looks with all this, get some cool night footage and everything. But overall, this camera is really impressive. Maybe with some extra updates on the firmware we can get some better latency and connection and all that, so really looking forward to all of that. And that's going to do it for this review video. The V2 system is amazing, even though I still feel like the V1 with the 2 antennas is going to work a lot better when it comes to latency and connection. I'm going to have to figure out something. I'm actually not using the stock antennas that come with it. I actually use the stock Caddx VISTA antenna, so I'll have to try a new antenna or something. Other than that, though, I'm really impressed with what they're doing. This Pro camera is amazing. I'm really excited with how this is going to do at night. We've been meeting up and everything. I haven't been meeting up, but the group of friends have been meeting up at night and flying, so this will definitely be the night ripper now, and honestly just for like good video and stuff too. So I hope you guys have an amazing weekend. God, it's the weekend already, but enjoy it, do some fun stuff, get some ripping done. I'll catch you guys in the next video. Peace.